Hello, Mr. Gary Frenchy. How are you? សូមជម្រាបសួរ
Good,
ជាភាសាខ្មែរ
good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gary Frenchy. Thank you for joining us tonight. And it's a night time in Cambodia. First, I would like to come across your works on, Cambodia through the Next News Network and your Facebook page. If I remember correctly, one of your earliest reports covers the proposal renamed National Road 4 in honor of President Donald Trump. That piece drew nearly 3 million views worldwide, and you even mentioned Soysapip from DPA's New. It is really caught your attention at the time when the Cambodia-Thailand border conflict was heating up. Later on Facebook Live, you spoke about Michael Alfaro being the first alert to your story. He went to travel to Cambodia himself, exposing the eviction of villagers by the Thai soldier and calling for the return of 18 Cambodian soldiers. From that point, your coverage of Cambodia became much more visible, and you often appear to support Cambodia's position. So please tell me, how did you get into this kind of news reporting on Cambodia, Mr. Gary Frenchy?
Well, it started. I was traveling to Texas, and I was going to Congressman Ron Paul's 90th birthday party, and I got a phone call from Michael Alfaro, and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but Cambodia is planning to name a major highway after Donald Trump." And I said, "This is amazing news." He also brought up the fact that Donald Trump was going to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. So naturally, because of the nature of our work here in the United States, this is big news. When a nation decides to name a major highway after a U.S. president, I said we need to let the American people know. Little did I know that in the background, all of this conflict was brewing with respect to the border of Cambodia and Thailand. And as I grew to understand the conflict more, I recognized that there were some severe abuses of human rights that were taking place, that there were ceasefires that were being violated, people were suffering. And I said, well, we need to elevate this this news so people in the United States can understand exactly what's happening. So it was good news that also had a backstory of bad news, and we had to make sure the American people were made aware of it.
Thank you so much. So what motivated you to increase your reporting on Cambodia to align yourself with its cause?
Well, in my conversations with Michael, it was clear that something needed to be done, that we needed to put eyes on the situation there in Cambodia. Michael and I were in discussions and figure out exactly the best method to do so. So Michael decided that he would take it upon himself and he would find a way to get to Cambodia, and he would talk to the deputy prime minister. He would go to the border and put a camera down there and shine a light on what's happening. So as Michael went there, and his reporting became more visible, it provided an opportunity for us to highlight what Michael was doing to amplify that message. So, Michael's informed me that most of the people in Cambodia really get their news from Facebook. Now, I primarily present my news on YouTube or on X. So when Michael said, listen, you got to post these videos and these reports onto Facebook so that people can see them, that's what we did. And it was remarkable to witness that with every subsequent report, the amount of views, the amount of comments, the amount of likes and shares started to just grow exponentially. So I realized that this is something that is really important to the Cambodian people, and that we need to maintain the reporting so that they can find out exactly what's happening. And also, not just for the people of Cambodia, but we need to make sure that people in America understood what the stakes were. So it just became evident that it was more than just the story of a highway. It was more than a story of a Nobel Peace Prize. But when Michael went to the border and he showed the barbed wire, he showed the families that were displaced, it was clear that this message needed to continue. We needed to continue covering it. And then as we continued to uncover it, we found out, how China is involved with weapons contracts and the double dealing that we discovered going behind Donald Trump's back, especially with respect to, these 18 soldiers are still in captivity. How come they haven't been released yet? So when Donald Trump goes and says, listen, guys, you better play nice or we're going to tariff you both. And then, people come to the table, but yet they still hold these soldiers. And then, as we saw just the other day in that village, you had the villagers out there with the sticks, and you had the Thailand soldiers out there in full military gear, threatening to spray the people with sewage. It's just like toilet water. And it's like, why would they, like, okay, so sure, maybe they're not going to be shooting guns, but they're going to be shooting toilet water at people. I mean, it's a disgrace. And that's why we want to make sure that the message got all the way up to the White House, to Donald Trump. And clearly our reporting has done so.
So have you seen that in the world that, during the conflict of the neighboring country and the people and the military allow, its citizen to bring all the sewage truck to spray on another side of the neighboring country's people? Have you seen that in the world have done that?
I've never seen that. It's clearly an act of humiliation that they're attempting to do, basically treating the Cambodian people like sewage. And it really speaks to the mindset of Thailand and their soldiers and how they view the people of Cambodia. They just see them as sewage, and that they should be drenched in toilet water as a result of the actions there.
Mr. Gary, Michael Alfaro traveled to Cambodia to see the situation for the first hand in Cambodia. So do you have any plan to do a similar trip and report directly from the ground like Michael?
I would love to be able to travel there. Sometimes my schedule and budgeting doesn't always allow for it because I am domestically based. Michael has a little bit more ability to travel because I do report from my studio. We have a dedicated production schedule. But if the time allows for it, then we'll certainly be going there.
So you're talking about budget thing. So what kind of budget working out with you if you go to Cambodia? You did any sponsor or something?
Well, it would be helpful if we did have a sponsor. Now, we do not want to take any government money. We don't want to take any money from special interest groups. If there was a sponsor, it would have to come from the people. We do not want any visual that could assume that we're biased or that we're part of a propaganda team. Everything I do, especially in the United States, we're supported by our viewers. And if our viewers support the work, then we will go to where the viewers want us to. So it really just comes down to that.
Yeah. So if the Thai sponsor you, will you decide to go to Thailand?
Well, I've been told that we've been blacklisted from Thailand, so I don't think that I would find favor in Thailand. I certainly don't want to go there and end up in the back of a van and never to see my family again, just simply because I'm, reporting on the conflict. So, sometimes you just have to. You have to look at the situation. You have to understand both sides. If they were to invite me there, I don't know if I honestly would go because at this point, I do not trust what is coming out of Thailand.
Why not? Because Thailand is a country. Thailand promote themselves as a country of smile, so it should be smile, right? So
well, not if you're spraying sewage on people.
So. Gary, how long have you known Michael Alfaro, and how has your connection with him influenced the story you have chosen to highlight?
I've known Michael for a very long time, going back to probably 2018, maybe. I first met him when he was working as a fundraiser for the Trump campaign, and that's when he introduced me to Donald Trump. personally through an event that took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I've known Michael for a long time. He's a big supporter of obviously the Trump family. He works closely with them. So I've known him for a long time.
Mr. Gary, this is a transition of the question that we're going to ask tonight. You have also reported the symbolic gesture surrounding the Cambodian and the U.S. relation. If Cambodia were to rename the national road to President Trump Highway, what kind of impact do you think that you would have, both domestically and internationally?
Well, I think it's a symbolic gesture that points to the impact that Donald Trump has globally. If you look across the world right now, President Trump is working to secure peace, with Russia and Ukraine, with Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, and of course, as we're seeing with Cambodia and Thailand, President Trump is working tirelessly as the peace president to do so. So, we talked earlier about the Nobel Peace Prize, but a Nobel Peace Prize is something that you receive. It's a great honor, but something of a highway that lasts forever, right? I mean, of course, when you receive a Nobel Peace Prize, it's always with you, but something of an impact of a highway is quite significant because people live on that highway. People have their address is on that highway, and every time that they have to write a letter or tell people where they live, they're always going to write President Donald Trump Highway. So it's going to basically sink into the consciousness of the people of Cambodia. But most importantly, it's also when people look at it from abroad and they see like an entire nation has dedicated a massive artery of transport. It's a great honor, and I think people are going to really enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, because this road was built and supported by the U.S. Fundings from 1959 to 1969 during the Cold War, between Russia, China, and the U.S. at that time. So people in Cambodia also want to see that happen too. So if that happened, what do you think about the U.S., the White House itself, and also the Americans people? What do you think that gonna be look like?
Well, I think it'll be celebrated. I think the White House receiving notice of an entire highway named after President Trump is a moment to celebrate. And I think you'll see President Trump come out and he'll thank the people for doing so. With respect to America, it'll be interesting to see the response. I can't tell you how the American people will respond. The truth is that the American people know very little about what's happening in Cambodia. So that's why it's so important for us to continue to report and to cover these matters so that the American people can learn about it and that they can form their own opinion. I do believe that there's a massive contingency of American people who voted for Donald Trump. And for them to learn that would be a blessing. I think they would celebrate it.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Gary, in late August, Michael posed a question on his Facebooks about whether the U.S. should build a military base in Cambodia, which would go against the Cambodian constitution. What do you think about this kind of proposal?
Well, if the Cambodian constitution says that it's not permissible, then that's the law. You can't do it. However, if the Cambodian constitution can be amended and the people support such a move, then it could happen. It really comes down to, the mechanics with respect to, the law and the Constitution. So it's hard to say if that is a possibility. I mean, Michael's simply asking a question, and the one way that we can get into topics is just by asking questions and starting the dialogue to have that discussion. So it remains to be seen. However, we do know that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is planning a trip to Cambodia. It looks like it might happen in November. Yeah. So who knows if those discussions will take place. It's interesting, but the fact that the true fact here is that we have Thailand, who is a supposed ally of the United States. And when they're doing weapons deals with China for submarines and Sweden for fighter jets, it seems kind of odd, because if we are true allies, then wouldn't they traditionally be going to United States for these types of armaments, but yet they're not? So that raises questions about Thailand's authenticity for peace while they're still having a conflict on the border, supposedly, with the ceasefire. But in the background, what are they doing? They're buying weapons from other countries that they should be buying from the United States. And then there's the question also of what's going on with China. I think it's interesting to note that we're finding out now, after my reporting on this matter, when the Cambodian king went to China and met with President Xi. From my sources, I was told it was simply a photo op. It was simply just so they could say, "Hey, we were," the China says, "Okay, here we are. We're going to talk to them," but there was no subsequent teeth or discussion of what's going on the border. And now we're learning, after our report, after we called out the communist Chinese for this, that now they're going to pledge $3 million to help, rebuild the border. So that's a direct impact of the work that we've been doing to raise a light on this, because we know China's paying attention. We know Thailand's paying attention. So they have to counterbalance whatever it is what we're talking about, because we've exposed them. And that's the beauty of the free press here in the United States.
Mr. Gary, like you said, Mr. Secretary Peter Hegseth will travel to Cambodia in November. Do you have any direct message to him on this matter?
Well, I think that he should go to the places that Michael went. I think that he should inspect those locations for himself and discover the human rights abuses for these families that are suffering. I mean, whole villages are being cut in half by barbed wire, with Thailand soldiers on the other side threatening to spray them with sewage and toilet water. So I think Secretary Hegseth needs to go there, see for himself what is going on. And I think he also needs to investigate the weapons contracts that are being done with China on Thailand's side. Because why is Thailand buying from China? Why is Thailand buying from Sweden? And for what reason? So I think that's what he needs to investigate. So my message to him is go to the border, investigate for yourself, and then also investigate the weapons contracts.
Mr. Gary, let me inject to these points a little bit regarding to the Gripens that Sweden sell 4 Gripen fighting jets to Thailand. And do you think that the White House should question or postpone the Sweden from selling this 4 fighting jet to Thailand, during Thailand having a very big trouble with Cambodian, and they use the Gripen to bomb and fight, and F-16 to bomb Cambodia so far. Do you think the White House have the ability to do that?
It's unclear if the White House can interject inside a weapons contract between two nations. However, given the power and strength of Donald Trump and the United States, I'm sure that Donald Trump could just pick up the phone and say, "Listen, Sweden, cancel the contract or else this is going to happen." I mean, there's a tremendous amount of leverage that the United States has with European allies. Of course, if you recall, in the recent NATO summit, President Trump was able to get NATO to pay up 5% for all the nations, and they said yes. So there is a tremendous amount of leverage that President Trump does have with NATO countries, and given the fact that Sweden is a part of all these nations, I think President Trump does have the leverage. The question is, will he use it?
But so far, the defense minister of Sweden, that I don't forget, I have his quote in front of me, by saying, his name is Pell Johnson. So he said, this is a quote, right? So this depends bilateral cooperation between Sweden and Thailand. Thailand has the rights to use Gripen according to the international law. Do you agree with that?
Well, does Thailand have the right? Sure, maybe they do have the right, but should they do it is the bigger question. If they're using American F-16s to attack, the border, should they do that? Of course not. But they did it. So we need to have strong leadership step up and make sure that these things do not happen, and that the people of Cambodia, especially on the border there, are made whole, and that their homes are restored, the temples are rebuilt, the schools are rebuilt, so that people can live in peace. And that's really what it comes down to. The more weapons that you buy, the only reason people buy weapons is because they want to use them in an offensive or perhaps defensive reasoning. But why? Why should we continue this military buildup? What we need to have is peace. We need to have conversation. We need to have trade and commerce, and people shaking hands and not spraying toilet water.
Gary, how do you assess, the current state's tension between Cambodia and Thailand? Do you think this is the invasion, or it's just like an armed conflict? Because like international news
Okay.
haven't distinguished this kind of conflict yet, whether invasion or a border dispute.
Well, here's what I believe. I believe that China has a vested interest in seeing the region destabilized, because President Trump has exerted himself on the world stage. He goes all over the world, and he's creating peace deals. He's creating trade deals. He's imposing tariffs, and other nations are falling in line with the United States and their foreign policy and trade agenda. Now, if China can work in the background privately and seed chaos in any of these nations, like in Thailand and the Cambodia border or other nations, then what they can do is they can test the resolve of President Trump and his foreign policy without doing it directly, basically using Thailand as a puppet nation to create tension. And then once the tension is created, then President Trump they're going to watch how President Trump responds. And then they can gauge their reaction in the future for other conflicts based on the tests that they've created at the Thailand-Cambodia border or other nations. So while China may be playing nice on the surface, in the background they can sow discord and chaos by encouraging these types of actions on the border, only to test Donald Trump. And what have we seen now? Well, we've already seen a congressional delegation go to Cambodia, and they were going to investigate. Now we're seeing the Secretary of Defense go to Cambodia to investigate. And this is a direct result of the reporting that Michael has done, that I have done, as well as because of China's, I believe, backroom work to create the chaos on that border. So these are all footsteps of President Trump responding, in my opinion, to the situation.
Mr. Gary, within 18 Cambodian soldiers still being captured by Thailand, still being held and castle and imprisoned, all the 18 captivity. How do you think the situation is shaping Thailand's image in the eye of international community?
Well, it shows them as the aggressor. It shows them as having no mercy. These soldiers should be released. The White House, President Trump, should demand their release. I don't think there's any good reason that they should be there to begin with. These are war crimes. Release the prisoners, let them go back to their families, and let's create peace. Let's have negotiations. Let's discuss trade and commerce and goodwill. Rather than, the longer that those soldiers stay in captivity, the longer that the tensions will continue to rise and people will have a negative reaction. So I believe directly from the White House, they need to amplify the message. So when like Pete Hegseth, hopefully by the time Pete Hegseth gets there, the Secretary of Defense gets there, those soldiers will have been released. But until then, it only creates another point of conflict.
Mm-hmm. But do you know, Thailand would think that these 18 soldiers to be captured is so much proud by the Thais, some extremist group in Bangkok, and they are really proud. They are really happy that the Thailand capture 18 Cambodian, and also there's a lot of like triumph, cheer when one of the guy he's like bring like about more than 10 Subic truck to spray on the Cambodian villager. So you think this is a proud, or it's just like violating to the ceasefire?
Well, I think it does violate the ceasefire to an extent. I mean, depending on what the terms of the ceasefire were, but I think it's really just an act of humiliation. It's an act of superiority that they want to continue to maintain that they have over the Cambodian people. And it's really a sad state of affairs that we have this situation going on. They want to humiliate Cambodia. They want to make Cambodia underneath them and remind them that they are the superior nation for whatever reason. And it's time for that to stop. It's time for people to get along and to have peace in commerce and trade.
Mr. Gary, after the president reduced tariff on Cambodia's goods to 19%, Cambodia has ordered tens Boeing aircraft from the United States, while Sweden sold 4 Gripen to Thailand. Then in July, Thailand reportedly deploys, F-16 and Gripen to strike against Cambodia. How do you interpret this kind of move? One is buying more aircraft, civil aircraft from America, and the other side is buying the fighting jet to kill the people in the border.
What I think you're seeing here is a shift in alliances. For a long time, Thailand has been known as an ally to the United States. Well, now maybe they're more of an ally to China. And Cambodia now becoming a closer ally to the United States. And then when Pete Hegseth goes there, maybe he will talk about creating a base for the United States to make Cambodia safe again. So I think that what you're seeing here is a shift in foreign policy by both nations. One going to China, one going to America.
So what is your advice for Cambodia building strong and trustworthy relationship with America? What Cambodia should do?
Well, I think peace begins with conversations. Peace begins with commerce and trade. And the more trade that you can initiate with the United States and the United States with Cambodia, the stronger the relationship becomes. Because at the end of the day, it's trade that builds up a nation. It's the goods that a nation can provide another nation that creates a bond with that other country. So the more that we can initiate trade routes and commerce, the stronger the relationship will be. So you know what I say? I say buy made in America.
Buy made in America. So there's a lot of goods right now import from America to Cambodia. Cambodia start allowing even like 0% from America to enter Cambodia, like news car and all that. So how Cambodia should do to, make more kind of trade connection to America, from America to Cambodia, Cambodia to America?
Well, it comes down to the manufacturing base in Cambodia. What are the main exports? What are the main manufacturing elements that do come out of Cambodia? It comes down to the people who are making those items. It comes down to the businesses that are creating them to create the relationships with the American trade groups so that those items can be transported to the United States and back and forth. So it really comes down to those individuals to have to make those moves to strengthen those relationships.
As you know, America is a well-known champion of democracy and human rights, and also and all like that. Cambodia so far doesn't have very good reputation very much about respecting human rights and democracy. Still, the main opposition leader, Kem Sokha, and other, political of conscience, political prisoner is still locked up in the country. So in order to build good relationship and with America, can Cambodia clean all it mess up a little bit in the country in order to prove international community and also like America that, to show that Cambodia is is at real peace, inside peace, in order to maintain its prosperity to outside, to build good trade, to make all the international community to trust that Cambodia, not only just trying to stop fighting, the ceasefire, respect the ceasefire, but also Cambodian clear a mess like judicial system, corruption, money laundering, scamming online, and also like political of conscience, political prisoner is still locked up. Mr. Kamsakai, the main opposition party leader, is still being locked up in the house arrest for 27 years. And because of the Cambodia accused him of colluded with America to overthrow the government in Cambodia. That is in the past. So the relationship with America and Cambodia in the past was a little bit sour. And so now, since Prime Minister Hun Manet sent a letter to Norway to nominate President Trump for Nobel Peace Prize after President Trump called for ceasefire between two countries, the government in Cambodia kind of like, cheer and triumph to see the effective of the President Trump, the United States, so the whole country holding up President Trump wife and himself, and also say thanks to President Trump for helping to stop this war. So, in your opinion, what Cambodian should do to show the world that Cambodia really need peace? Because like right now, it seems like the peace is kind of like a little bit awkward for Cambodia to say.
Well, it's interesting that you bring those points up because, yes, we did see the letter, the nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize, but are those empty gestures with respect to still having, the internal strife inside Cambodia by continuing to maintain the incarceration of an opposition leader? Now, those are internal issues that certainly should be resolved in good faith, because if you have an opposition leader that supposedly tried to effect a coup against Cambodia by using the United States as well, then why would you nominate the president of the United States for the Nobel Peace Prize in the same breath? So I think that there are certain things that, if all those points, are in fact true, then Cambodia does have a lot of resolution to step forward in good faith, to say, listen, we are a changed nation. We support Donald Trump and his mission of peace. We support Donald Trump and his mission of trade and commerce and tariffs. And we want to make Cambodia great again, just like Donald Trump wants to make America great again. But the only way that we can make Cambodia great again is to atone for any of the actions that have put a blemish on the history of Cambodia relations with America and the internal corruption. So just like the United States, just like President Trump, he's going into the United States government and he is taking all the corruption out. He's taking all the bad people out. He's draining the swamp, if you will. So Cambodia needs to do the exact same thing by draining the swamp, getting rid of the corruption, and making amends with the opposition. Now, in the United States, there's quite a lot of opposition against President Trump. I mean, they tried to do lawfare and courts and assassination attempts against him. So and now President Trump is finding out where all of the crime is inside of our own institutions, and he's cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. So I think that Cambodia can follow the lead of America by saying, listen, let's go ahead and let's make Cambodia great again. Let's follow Donald Trump's lead. Let's drain the swamp in Cambodia, and let's fix it. I think that would probably be the best way, so that they can rectify suddenly wanting to give the Nobel Prize, while at the same time they haven't addressed some of the main problems. So I think that's what they should do.
Look at Thailand, capture 18 Cambodian soldiers, right? Mm-hmm. So Cambodians so much want the Thai to release the 18 soldiers. But also government in Cambodia also arrest one of the Cambodian commentator on Facebook Live every day. His name is Sarada. And he live in Paris. He always come up to a live show, criticize the government in Cambodia. You should not be corrupt. You should uphold democracy, promote human rights. and criticize of the any judicial reform in Cambodia. So his father was arrested by charging of selling drugs, and his father is a former or a current military a current soldier in Cambodia. But because of political motivation, his father was arrested immediately and locked up as a hostage in Cambodia. So Cambodian government also want to the Thai to release the hostage. So why would Cambodia itself arresting, the its own people, their father that is innocent, doesn't have any guilty, he's just an innocent. So why would Cambodia do that? So this is a very bad image to the international community. So how do you elaborate to that, Mr. Gary?
Well, I'm not privy to all the facts in the case. Yeah. It sounds like a political retribution. The son who is vocal, speaking out against the corruption in Cambodia. So what does Cambodian government do? They punish the son by arresting the father. Was very, very dangerous situation to be in. That's actually very scary to consider that being a possibility, that if someone is speaking out across the country, across the world, that they would try to punish your family back at home. It does create a conflict with respect to free speech, and I'm not sure what the young reporter was speaking about specifically, but sometimes when you speak truth to power, there are people that don't want you to speak. There are people that just want to make you quiet, and they'll do anything that they can to shut you down. And in this case, it appears as though they use the father to get to the son, and it's a shocking and very sad case.
Thank you so much. My last question. This is for the first time the Cambodian community in the United States, particularly Cambodian Association of North Carolina and South Carolina, will proudly recognize and present you and Michael Alfaro with an award for your brave effort to uncover the truth about the ongoing border conflict. So this recognition will take place in September 7 in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So how do you feel of going to receive such an honor?
I don't do this work to receive honor. I do not do this work to receive glory or thanks. I do this work because it needs to be done and the message needs to get out. That being said, I'm honored that the community of South Carolina and North Carolina, the Cambodian community there, feel that my work is worthy of such an honor. So I humbly accept, but I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. I'm only doing what needs to be done to help people understand the truth, for whatever the cause may be. I've been doing reporting for over 20 years on so many different topics, and I have received awards for my reporting over the years. So I'm deeply blessed. I'm deeply honored to have this opportunity. But again, I only do this because it needs to be done, not because I'm doing it so I can receive an award. And I thank the people of South Carolina and North Carolina, the community there, and I look forward to meeting them and sharing in the celebration of the moment.
Thank you so much. If other Cambodian community in different states host similar events, would you willing be attend and participate?
If they want to invite me, I'll certainly consider. But I don't plan on going on a national tour to continue accepting glory. What's more important is that we get the message out to the American people and to the world community. But if going to those locations will help further the message to solidify those communities in truth and in peace, then I will go.
At the end, do you have any message to the world, to the Cambodian around the world?
Pray for peace. Just pray for peace. Continue to highlight the work that we're doing, share the work that we're doing so that more people can see it, so the White House can see it, because it's truly the reason that we are seeing the Secretary of Defense go to Cambodia. The reason we're seeing the congressional delegation going to Cambodia is only because Michael Alfaro went to the border. And he went to the border after we had a conversation on the phone. And he said, Gary, you won't believe what's happening in Cambodia with the highway renaming and the Nobel Prize. And then, of course, with what happened with the barbed wire on the border in the village. So, it's only because we're shining a light on these moments and people are paying attention and people are sharing and people are talking about it that we're actually able to move the needle closer to peace. So just keep watching and keep sharing and keep praying.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gary Frenchy, for joining us, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. បាទជាបន្តទៅទៀតខ្ញុំបាទតាំងសារដាសូមជូនព័ត៌មានពិស្ដាអគ្គលេខាធិការគណៈបកកុម្មុយនីសវៀតណាមលោកតូលឹមជំរុញឲ្យលោកហ៊ុនសែនប្រធានគណៈបកប្រជាជនកម្ពុជាបង្កើននៅទំនាក់ទំនងក្នុងក្របខ័ណ្ឌបកជាមួយនឹងគណៈបកប្រជាជនកម្ពុជា CPP ដើម្បីភ្ជាប់យុវជននិងយុវជនឲ្យកាន់តែមានភាពស្អិតរមួតបន្ថែមទៀតអ្នកនាំពាក្យគណៈបកប្រជាជនកម្ពុជានិងជាអ្នកនាំពាក្យព្រឹទ្ធសភាលោកជាធីរិទ្ធបានបង្ហោះសេចក្តីសង្ខេបព័ត៌មានលើគណនី Facebook របស់លោកថាលោកហ៊ុនសែនប្រធានគណៈបកប្រជាជនកម្ពុជានិងជាប្រធានព្រឹទ្ធសភាកម្ពុជាបានជួបពិភាក្សាការងារជាមួយនឹងលោកតូលឹមកាលពីរសៀលថ្ងៃច័ន្ទទី1ខែកញ្ញានៅទីស្នាក់ការមជ្ឈិមបកវៀតណាមក្នុងទីក្រុងហាណូយប្រទេសវៀតណាមលោកហ៊ុនសែនបានធ្វើដំណើរទស្សនកិច្ច2ថ្ងៃនៅថ្ងៃទី1និងថ្ងៃទី2ខែកញ្ញានេះទៅកាន់ប្រទេសវៀតណាមដើម្បីចូលរួមខួប80ឆ្នាំនៃបុណ្យឯករាជ្យវៀតណាមក្នុងដំណើរទស្សនកិច្ចនោះលោកបានអញ្ជើញជួបប្រធានសភាវៀតណាមលោកជិនថាញ់មិនផងដែរលោកជាធិរិទ្ធបន្តថាអគ្គលេខាធិការគណៈបកកុម្មុយនីសវៀតណាមលោកតូលឹមបានថ្លែងថាលោកជំរុញបន្ថែមទៀតឲ្យប្រទេសទាំងពីរពិសេសក្នុងក្របខ័ណ្ឌគណៈបកបន្តចែករំលែកផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនៅដំណើរទស្សនកិច្ចទៅវិញទៅមកលោកជាធិរិទ្ធបានឲ្យដឹងទៀតថាលោកហ៊ុនសែនបានវាយតម្លៃខ្ពស់ចំពោះបដិវត្តន៍នៃខែសីហាកាលពីឆ្នាំ1945ដែលមានអត្ថន័យសម្រាប់ប្រទេសវៀតណាមនិងជាចំណុចសំខាន់មួយដែលកើតមានចលនានៃការតស៊ូដើម្បីទាមទារឯករាជ្យទាំងនៅក្នុងក្របខ័ណ្ឌតំបន់និងពិភពលោកហ៊ុនសែនក៏បានលើកឡើងពីការពង្រីកទំនាក់ទំនងរវាងប្រទេសទាំងពីរជាពិសេសលើវិស័យសេដ្ឋកិច្ចយោធាពាណិជ្ជកម្មដែលប្រទេសទាំងពីរមានភាពរីកចម្រើននាពេលបច្ចុប្បន្នក្រុមអ្នកឃ្លាំមើលប្រមានថាទំនាក់ទំនងរវាងកម្ពុជានិងវៀតណាមកម្ពុជាមិនទទួលបានផលប្រយោជន៍អ្វីពីប្រទេសវៀតណាមទេជាក់ស្ដែងរាល់ជំនួបរវាងមន្ត្រីរដ្ឋាភិបាលវៀតណាមជាមួយនឹងមន្ត្រីរដ្ឋាភិបាលកម្ពុជាម្ដងវៀតណាមតែងតែស្នើសុំឲ្យភាគីកម្ពុជាជួយសម្រួលការស្នាក់នៅដល់ជនជាតិវៀតណាមដែលកំពុងតែរស់នៅដោយខុសច្បាប់តាំងពីចំនួនលោកហ៊ុនសែននៅដឹកនាំរហូតដល់លោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតនៅបន្តដឹកនាំនៅពេលនេះប្រពន្ធដដែលអះអាងថាបើពិនិត្យទៅលើទំនាក់ទំនងរវាងកម្ពុជានិងវៀតណាមកន្លងមកគឺមានតែវៀតណាមទាញយកផលប្រយោជន៍ពីកម្ពុជាតែប៉ុណ្ណោះសូម្បីតែតំបន់ត្រីកោណអភិវឌ្ឍដែលកម្ពុជាវៀតណាមនិងឡាវកំពុងតែសហការគ្នាដោយការដាក់ខេត្តចំនួន13ចូលគ្នាសប្តាហ៍នេះក៏វៀតណាមកំពុងទាញផលប្រយោជន៍ពីខេត្តខ្មែរដែលបានដាក់ចូលទៅក្នុងតំបន់ត្រីកោណនេះដែរលោកនាងជាទីមេត្រីអនុរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីការពារជាតិថៃនាយឧត្តមសេនីយ៍ណាថាផុនណផានិតប្រមានបាញ់សម្លាប់យោធាកម្ពុជាប្រសិនបើយោធាថៃចាប់បាននៅពេលដែលទាហានកម្ពុជាកំពុងតែដាក់បង្កាយគ្រាប់បែកក្នុងទឹកដីថៃយោងតាមការចេញផ្សាយរបស់កាសែតថៃ The Nation ស្រង់សម្ដីលោកណាថាផុនណផានិតនៅថ្ងៃនេះថាទាហានថៃនឹងបាញ់សម្លាប់កងទ័ពកម្ពុជាគ្មានការលើកលែងឡើយបើទាហានថៃចាប់បានទាហានកម្ពុជាណាដែលហ៊ានលួចដាក់បង្កាយគ្រាប់បែកនៅលើទឹកដីថៃលោកណាថាផុនណផានិតអះអាងថាលោកបានទទួលនៅរបាយការណ៍ពីកងទ័ពភូមិន្ទថៃដែលបញ្ជាក់ថាការបង្កាយគ្រាប់បែកដែលផលិតឡើងពីគ្រាប់បែកត្បាល់ត្រូវបានរកឃើញនៅជិតប្រាសាទតាក្របីកាលពីថ្ងៃអាទិត្យទី31ខែសីហាកន្លងទៅនេះអនុរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីការពារជាតិថៃរូបនេះបញ្ជាក់ទៅកាន់ពលរដ្ឋថៃថាភាពមិនប្រកបប្រជានយោបាយរបស់ប្រទេសថៃបច្ចុប្បន្ននឹងមិនធ្វើឲ្យសន្តិសុខព្រំដែនជាមួយនឹងកម្ពុជាចុះទុនខ្សោយនោះទេ កាលពីថ្ងៃទី7ខែសីហាឆ្នាំ2025កម្ពុជាថៃបានឯកភាពគ្នាក្នុងកិច្ចប្រជុំវិសាមញ្ញនៃគណៈកម្មាធិការព្រំដែនទូតកម្ពុជាថៃដែលហៅថា Extraordinary GBC Meeting នៅក្នុងប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីដោយព្រមព្រៀងគ្នាឲ្យមានបទឈប់បាញ់ដែលមានលក្ខខណ្ឌចំនួន13ចំណុចក្នុងចំណោមលក្ខខណ្ឌទាំង13ចំណុចនេះក៏បានចែងដែរថាភាគីទាំងពីរបានឯកភាពគ្នាលើបទឈប់បាញ់ពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងអាវុធគ្រប់ប្រភេទទាំងអស់រួមទាំងការវាយប្រហារទៅលើជនស៊ីវិលវត្ថុស៊ីវិលនិងគោលដៅយោធានៃភាគីទាំងសងខាងក្នុងគ្រប់ករណីនិងតំបន់ទាំងអស់បន្ថែមពីនេះភាគីទាំងពីរក៏បានឯកភាពគ្នាជៀសវាងការបាញ់ប្រហារការបង្កហេតុសម្ដៅទៅលើទីតាំងឬកងទ័ពរបស់ភាគីម្ខាងទៀតនិងបានកំណត់មិនឲ្យភាគីទាំងសងខាងបំពានដាច់ខាតទោះស្ថិតក្រោមកលៈទេសៈណាក៏ដោយអ្នកនាំពាក្យក្រសួងការពារជាតិកម្ពុជាអ្នកស្រីម៉ាលីសុជាតាបានលើកឡើងនៅក្នុងសន្និសីទសារព័ត៌មាននៅថ្ងៃអង្គារនេះថាកងកម្លាំងកម្ពុជាបដិញ្ញាយ៉ាងម៉ឺងម៉ាត់នៅការគោរពនៅកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងបទឈប់បាញ់រវាងកម្ពុជានិងថៃនិងប្រកាន់ខ្ជាប់នៅលក្ខខណ្ឌទាំង13ចំណុចដែលបានចែងក្នុងកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងនេះផងដែរអ្នកនាំពាក្យក្រសួងការពារជាតិកម្ពុជារូបនេះអះអាងថាក្នុងនាមជាប្រទេសដែលមានការទទួលខុសត្រូវខ្ពស់និងស្រឡាញ់សន្តិភាពកម្ពុជាសម្រាប់ជ្រើសរើសយកការសន្ទនាកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការដោយមិនទទួលយកការប្រជុំមុខដាក់គ្នានិងចំនួនដាច់ខាតសារព័ត៌មានThe Cambodia Daily នឹងមិនទាន់អាចតាក់ទងលោកប៉ែនប៊ុនណាប្រធានអ្នកនាំពាក្យរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលកម្ពុជាដើម្បីសុំការបំភ្លឺជុំវិញបញ្ហានេះបាននៅឡើយទេរហូតមកទល់ម៉ោងផ្សាយនេះលោកអ្នកនាងជាទីមេត្រីអតីតជនភៀសខ្លួននៅជំរំនងច័ន្ទនិងជាប្រធានបកក្រៅរដ្ឋាភិបាលមួយរូបអះអាងថាកងទ័ពថៃបានវាយប្រហារនិងដុតបំផ្លាញផ្ទះសម្បែងជនភៀសសុខខ្មែរនៅជំរំនងច័ន្ទអំឡុងទសវត្សរ៍ឆ្នាំ1980យ៉ាងសាហាវឃោរឃៅជាទីបំផុតដើម្បីកាន់កាប់ជាកម្មសិទ្ធិលោកមីសវណ្ណារាប្រធានគណៈបច្ចុប្បន្នថ្មីបានសរសេរនៅលើទំព័រ Facebook របស់លោកនៅថ្ងៃនេះថាកាលពីថ្ងៃទី5ខែមករាឆ្នាំ1980កម្លាំងថ្មើរជើងកងទ័ពថៃប្រដាប់ដោយកាំភ្លើងធំរួមទាំងយន្តហោះបានវាយប្រហារទៅលើជំរំនងច័ន្ទនិងបានដុតបំផ្លាញផ្ទះសម្បែងពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរដែលជាជនភៀសសឹករាប់ពាន់នាក់យ៉ាងហិនហោចគ្មានសល់លោកបន្តថាលោកកៅគុតដែលជាប្រធានជំរំនងច័ន្ទបណ្ដោះអាសន្ននិងលោកជារិទ្ធីឈុតដែលជាសមាជិករណសិរំដោះជាតិប្រជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរបានរងរបួសពីការវាយប្រហារនេះធ្ងន់ធ្ងរណាស់លោកមីសវណ្ណរាលើកឡើងថាភូមិនងច័ន្ទគឺជាអតីតជំនុំជនភៀសខ្លួនខ្មែររស់នៅដែលគេហៅថាជំរុំនងច័ន្ទហើយទីតាំងនេះគឺធ្លាប់ស្ថិតនៅក្រោមការគ្រប់គ្រងរបស់អតីតចលនារណសិរំដោះជាតិប្រជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរដែលដឹកនាំដោយលោកតាសឿនសាននាយឧត្តមសេនីយ៍សក់សុទ្ធសខននិងឧត្តមសេនីយ៍ឌៀងដែលលោកបន្តថាអតីតជំរុំតស៊ូមួយនេះស្ថិតនៅខាងកើតជាប់នឹងភូមិរបស់ថៃហើយជំរុំនងច័ន្ទនេះក៏ត្រូវស្ថិតក្រោមការគ្រប់គ្រងផ្ទាល់របស់ឧត្តមសេនីយ៍ជារិទ្ធិឈុតដែលជាប្រធានជំរុំនិងជាសមាជិករណសិរជាតិរំដោះប្រជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរនាពេលនោះដែរដែលមានប្រជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែររស់នៅជាង 3000 នាក់ពេលជនភៀសសឹកខ្មែរចាប់ផ្ដើមទៅរស់នៅជាលើកដំបូងនោះប្រធានគណៈបច្ចុប្បន្នថ្មីរូបនេះបញ្ជាក់ថាលោកធ្លាប់ជាអតីតជនភៀសខ្លួនខ្មែរម្នាក់ដែលបានរស់នៅក្នុងទឹកដីអតីតជំរុំនងច័ន្ទក្នុងឆ្នាំ1979ដល់ឆ្នាំ1981មុនពេលកងទ័ពវៀតណាមវាយបែកជំរុំនេះលោកបន្តថាក្រោយមកលោកបានបន្តរស់នៅតំបន់ព្រៃច័ន្ទដែលគេហៅថាជំរុំនងច័ន្ទថ្មីនៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ1982នៅឃុំអូ3ជាន់ស្រុកអូជ្រៅខេត្តបាត់ដំបងនាសម័យនោះកាលពីថ្ងៃទី1ខែកញ្ញាឆ្នាំ2025សារព័ត៌មានថៃខៅសុតបានចុះផ្សាយថាអភិបាលខេត្តស្រះកែវលោកបរិញ្ញាពុទ្ធិស័ន្ទបានអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យពលរដ្ឋថៃនៅភូមិនងច័ន្ទចូលទៅប្រើប្រាស់ដីចំនួន6ទីតាំងក្នុងដីភូមិរបស់ពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរបន្ទាប់ពីទាហានថៃបានរាយបន្លាលួសព័ទ្ធយកប្រពន្ធដដែលរាយការណ៍មកថាអាជ្ញាធរថៃបានប្រាប់ឲ្យពលរដ្ឋរបស់ខ្លួនត្រូវជូនដំណឹងមុនដើម្បីការពារសុវត្ថិភាពមុនពេលចូលទៅប្រើប្រាស់ដីរបស់ពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរទាំងអស់នោះព្រោះដីនៅចន្លោះបូកគោព្រំដែនលេខ46និង47ត្រូវបានវាស់វែងរួចអស់ទៅហើយទោះបីជាអភិបាលខេត្តបន្ទាយមានជ័យលោកអ៊ុំរាត្រីបានផ្ញើលិខិតទៅកាន់អភិបាលខេត្តស្រះកែវកាលពីថ្ងៃទី25ខែសីហាដើម្បីជំទាស់ទៅនឹងការចេញបានកម្មសិទ្ធិដីធ្លីឲ្យអ្នកភូមិនងច័ន្ទដែលស្ថិតនៅជាប់ភូមិជោគជ័យឃុំអូ3ជាន់ស្រុកអូជ្រៅក៏ដោយក៏អភិបាលខេត្តស្រះកែវនៅតែអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យពលរដ្ឋថៃចូលទៅប្រើប្រាស់ដីដែលរំលោភយកពីពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរបានដដែល ជុំវិញបញ្ហានេះកាលពីថ្ងៃទី25ខែសីហាបណ្ឌិតអិនសុផលអ្នកជំនាញខាងផ្នែកវិទ្យាសាស្ត្រនយោបាយសរសេរនៅលើគណនី Facebook របស់លោកដោយភ្ជាប់ជាមួយនឹងផែនទីអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិថាជំរំនងច័ន្ទគឺស្ថិតនៅលើទឹកដីកម្ពុជាជាប់នឹងព្រំដែនថៃដែលជំរំនេះធ្លាប់ត្រូវបានគ្រប់គ្រងដោយចលនារណសិរ្សរំដោះជាតិខ្មែរបណ្ឌិតអិនសុផលអះអាងថានៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ1979មានជនភៀសខ្លួនខ្មែរ13000នាក់រហូតដល់ឆ្នាំ1984មានជនភៀសខ្លួនខ្មែរបានកើនឡើងរហូតដល់16000នាក់ដែលរស់នៅក្នុងជំរំនងច័ន្ទនេះបាទលោកអ្នកនាងជាទីមេត្រីអង្គភាពអ្នកនាំពាក្យរដ្ឋាភិបាលអះអាងថាមិត្តចិនសន្យាផ្តល់ជំនួយមនុស្សធម៌20លានយួនឬស្មើនឹងប្រមាណជា2កណ្ដោសញ្ញា8លានដុល្លារអាមេរិកដើម្បីស្ដារការខូចខាតជុំវិញចំនួនព្រំដែនជាមួយនឹងប្រទេសថៃនិងជនភៀសសឹកនៅកម្ពុជាអង្គភាពអ្នកនាំពាក្យរដ្ឋាភិបាលចេញសេចក្តីប្រកាសព័ត៌មានស្តីពីលទ្ធផលនៃការចូលរួមកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលនៃអង្គការសហប្រតិបត្តិការសៀងហៃបូកនៅថ្ងៃនេះថាប្រធានាធិបតីចិនលោកស៊ីជីនពីងបានចាត់ទុកវត្តមាននាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតក្នុងកិច្ចប្រជុំនេះគឺជាឱកាសដ៏សំខាន់ដើម្បីបន្តរឹតចំណងមិត្តភាពដៃថែបឲ្យកាន់តែរឹងមាំបន្ថែមទៀតប្រពន្ធដដាលអះអាងថាកម្ពុជាចិនបានឯកភាពគ្នាក្នុងការបន្តពង្រឹងកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការឲ្យកាន់តែស៊ីជម្រៅទៅលើវិស័យអត្ថិភាពនានាដូចជាវិស័យនយោបាយការទូតសេដ្ឋកិច្ចពាណិជ្ជកម្មការអភិវឌ្ឍហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធនិងវិស័យសន្តិសុខការពារជាតិផងដែរអង្គភាពអ្នកនាំពាក្យដដែលនោះបញ្ជាក់ថាក្នុងជំនួបទ្វេភាគីជាមួយនឹងនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតប្រធានាធិបតីចិនលោកស៊ីជីនពីងបានបញ្ជាក់នៅការគាំទ្រកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងបទឈប់បាញ់យន្តការសង្កេតការអាស៊ានដឹកនាំដោយម៉ាឡេស៊ីនិងការបង្កើតនៅក្រុមសង្កេតការអាស៊ាន AOT ឲ្យបានឆាប់ផងដែរខណៈចិនកំពុងតែតាមដានលើករណីចំនួនព្រំដែនកម្ពុជាថៃនៅពេលនេះយ៉ាងយកចិត្តទុកដាក់នាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតបានចូលរួមកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលនៃអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិនៃអង្គការសហប្រតិបត្តិការសៀងហៃបូកដែលប្រព្រឹត្តទៅរយៈពេល3ថ្ងៃចាប់ពីថ្ងៃទី30ខែសីហាដល់ថ្ងៃទី1ខែកញ្ញាឆ្នាំ2025នៅក្នុងទីក្រុងធានជីងសាធារណរដ្ឋប្រជាមានិតចិនដែលមានការចូលរួមពីមេដឹកនាំ25ប្រទេសដូចជារុស្ស៊ីឥណ្ឌាម៉ាឡេស៊ីឡាវនិងវៀតណាមជាដើមប្រធានក្រុមប្រឹក្សាឃ្លាំមើលកម្ពុជាលោកម៉ែនណាតបានសរសេរនៅលើគណនី Facebook របស់លោកកាលពីថ្ងៃទី1ខែកញ្ញានេះថាក្នុងពេលដែលកំពុងតែរងគ្រោះដោយអំពើឈ្លានពានរបស់ប្រទេសថៃនាពេលនេះកម្ពុជាត្រូវថ្លឹងថ្លែងរាល់ទំនាក់ទំនងនយោបាយការទូតកុំឲ្យលំអៀងទៅរកបរទេសណាមួយដាច់ខាតលោកម៉ែនណាតបញ្ជាក់ថាការរក្សានៅអព្យាក្រឹតគឺអាចផ្ដល់ឱកាសសម្រាប់កម្ពុជាពឹងពាក់អន្តរជាតិនិងបណ្ដាប្រទេសជាមិត្តរួមទាំងមហាអំណាចដើម្បីជួយផ្ដល់នូវយុត្តិធម៌ដល់ខ្លួនជុំវិញការឈ្លានពានរបស់ប្រទេសថៃក្នុងពេលបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះបាទលោកអ្នកនាងជាទីមេត្រីនៅពេលនេះយើងចូលដល់នីតិព័ត៌មានអន្តរជាតិយោងតាមការផ្សព្វផ្សាយដោយបណ្ដាញផ្សាយព័ត៌មាន The European ចុះផ្សាយកាលពីថ្ងៃទី29ខែសីហាបានឲ្យដឹងថាកម្ពុជាកំពុងតែពិចារណាកែប្រែឈ្មោះផ្លូវ Highway មួយខ្សែរបស់ខ្លួនដោយបដូរទៅជាឈ្មោះប្រធានាធិបតីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិក Donald Trump វិញដោយសំទោសមួយខ្សែរបស់ខ្លួនដោយបដូរទៅជាឈ្មោះប្រធានាធិបតីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកលោក Donald Trump វិញគោលបំណងរបស់កម្ពុជាគឺជាការគោរពនិងផ្ដល់កិត្តិយសដល់តួនាទីរបស់ប្រធានាធិបតីអាមេរិកលោក Donald Trump ក្នុងការសម្របសម្រួលដែលនាំមកនៅបទឈប់បាញ់រវាងកម្ពុជានិងថៃការសម្រេចចិត្តនេះត្រូវបានពិភាក្សាបន្ទាប់ពីលោក Trump បានចូលខ្លួនអន្តរាគមន៍សហការជាមួយនឹងអង្គការអន្តរជាតិដើម្បីនាំឲ្យមានបទឈប់បាញ់គ្នាក្នុងសំណុំរឿងវិវាទព្រំដែនកម្ពុជាថៃកាលពីចុងខែកក្កដាកន្លងទៅនេះការដើរតួនាទីជាអ្នកសម្របសម្រួលរបស់លោក Trump ក្នុងការបញ្ចប់ភាពតានតឹងបាននាំឲ្យលោក Trump ក្លាយជាបុគ្គលមួយរូបដែលត្រូវបានគោរពកោតសរសើរយ៉ាងខ្លាំងនៅក្នុងចំណោមប្រជាជនជាច្រើននៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាមន្ត្រីជាន់ខ្ពស់មួយចំនួនបានបញ្ជាក់ថាការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរផ្លូវជាតិលេខ4អាចក្លាយជារូបសញ្ញានៃសន្តិភាពថ្មីនិងជាការទទួលស្គាល់ដល់តួនាទីអន្តរជាតិនៃសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកគំនិតក្នុងការបដូរឈ្មោះ Highway ផ្លូវជាតិលេខ4ទៅជាឈ្មោះ Trump Highway ត្រូវបានបង្ហាញដំបូងដោយអ្នកកាសែតកម្ពុជាដ៏ល្បីឈ្មោះមួយរូបគឺលោកសុយសុភាពដែលជាប្រធានស្ថាប័នសារព័ត៌មានដើមអំពិលលោកសុយសុភាពបានលើកឡើងពីគំនិតនេះដំបូងគេបង្អស់ក្នុងការ live វីដេអូមួយលើគណនី Facebook របស់លោកកាលពីដើមខែសីហាហើយត្រូវបានយកទៅចុះផ្សាយដោយលោក Gary Frenchy ដែលជាប្រធានអ្នកឆ្លើយឆ្លងព័ត៌មានរបស់សេតវិមាននៃក្រុមហ៊ុន Next New Network នៅក្នុងវីដេអូមួយក្រោយមកទៀតដែលលោក Alvaro បានសម្ភាសនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីសុនចន្ទថុលនៅសំទោសបានសម្ភាសឧបនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីសុនចន្ទថុលនៅរាជធានីភ្នំពេញពេលនោះ ឈ្មោះរបស់លោកសុយសុភាពត្រូវបានគេលើកយកមកនិយាយដោយផ្ទាល់ដោយពិពណ៌នាថាលោកជាអ្នកបង្កើតសំណើនេះទោះបីជាគាត់មិនបានបង្ហាញខ្លួននៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ក៏ដោយក្នុងអំឡុងនៃការសន្ទនានោះលោកសុនចន្ទថុលបានបង្ហាញពីការគាំទ្រយ៉ាងច្បាស់ចំពោះគំនិតយោបល់របស់លោកសុយសុភាពដែលបានបញ្ជាក់ថាគំនិតនេះមិនមែនស្ថិតនៅក្នុងភាពចចាមអារ៉ាមទេប៉ុន្តែចាប់ផ្ដើមត្រូវបានលើកឡើងនៅក្នុងកំណត់ត្រាផ្លូវការរួចទៅហើយលោកសុនចន្ទថុលអតីតរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្រសួងសាធារណការនិងដឹកជញ្ជូនបានប្រាប់លោក Michael Alfaro ថាគាត់ជឿជាក់ថាគំនិតនៃការដាក់ឈ្មោះផ្លូវជាតិលេខ4តាមឈ្មោះប្រធានាធិបតី Donald Trump នឹងទទួលបានការគាំទ្រច្រើននៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាលោកសុនចន្ទថុលបញ្ជាក់ថាខ្ញុំគិតថានឹងទទួលបានការគាំទ្រច្រើននៅក្នុងប្រទេសដូច្នេះលោកសុយសុភាពនឹងជំរុញឲ្យមានរឿងនេះហើយសង្ឃឹមថានឹងសម្រេចបានក្នុងពេលដ៏ឆាប់ៗខាងមុខនេះចលនានៅក្នុងប្រទេសនឹងឃើញការគាំទ្រច្រើននៅក្នុងប្រព័ន្ធផ្សព្វផ្សាយសង្គមប៉ុន្តែវាត្រូវឆ្លងកាត់ការយល់ព្រមពីនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីជាមុនសិនប្រសិនបើការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរឈ្មោះនោះត្រូវបានអនុម័តកម្ពុជានឹងក្លាយជាប្រទេសដំបូងដែលដាក់ឈ្មោះផ្លូវជាតិរបស់ខ្លួនតាមឈ្មោះលោក Donald Trump ប្រធានាធិបតីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកផ្លូវដែលត្រូវពិចារណានោះគឺផ្លូវជាតិលេខ4ដែលមានប្រវែងប្រមាណ230គីឡូម៉ែត្រដោយភ្ជាប់រាជធានីភ្នំពេញទៅនឹងកំពង់ផែក្រុងព្រះសីហនុផ្លូវនេះត្រូវបានសាងសង់ដំបូងនៅក្នុងចន្លោះឆ្នាំ1959ដល់ឆ្នាំ1969ដោយមានជំនួយពីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកនៅពេលដែលទីក្រុង Washington កំពុងតែប្រគល់ប្រជែងអំណាចនយោបាយនិងយោធាជាមួយទីក្រុង Moscow និងទីក្រុង Peking ក្នុងពេលសង្គ្រាមត្រជាក់មកទល់សប្តាហ៍ថ្ងៃនេះផ្លូវជាតិលេខ4នៅតែជាហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធដឹកជញ្ជូនដ៏សំខាន់បំផុតរបស់កម្ពុជាដោយភ្ជាប់រាជធានីទៅកំពង់ផែទឹកជ្រៅនៃផែសមុទ្រប្រទេសកម្ពុជានៅក្រុងព្រះសីហនុដែលក្លាយជាខ្សែជីវិតសេដ្ឋកិច្ចរបស់ប្រទេសដ៏សំខាន់បំផុតគំនិតបដូរឈ្មោះផ្លូវជាតិដ៏សំខាន់មួយនេះត្រូវបានពិចារណាថាជាផ្នែកមួយនៃចលនាដ៏ទូលំទូលាយក្នុងការដឹងគុណនិងកោតសរសើរដល់ប្រធានាធិបតីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកលោក Donald Trump នាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតទើបចូលកាន់តំណែងកាលពីឆ្នាំ2023បានផ្ញើលិខិតផ្លូវការទៅកាន់គណៈកម្មាធិការ Nobel នៃប្រទេស Norway ដោយស្នើសុំតែងតាំងលោក Trump សម្រាប់រង្វាន់សន្តិភាពឆ្នាំ2025ក្នុងលិខិតចុះថ្ងៃទី7ខែសីហាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតបានបង្ហាញការគោរពចំពោះភាពជាមេដឹកនាំដ៏អស្ចារ្យរបស់លោក Trump ដែលជួយបញ្ចប់វិបត្តិព្រំដែនជាមួយប្រទេសថៃការប៉ះទង្គិចបានផ្ទុះឡើងនៅថ្ងៃទី24ខែកក្កដាជុំវិញប្រាសាទតាមាន់ធំដែលជាសំណង់បុរាណរបស់ខ្មែរមានទីតាំងនៅតាមព្រំដែនកម្ពុជាថៃប្រទេសទាំងពីរបានប្រកាសថាប្រាសាទនៅតំបន់ព្រំដែនមួយចំនួនជាកម្មសិទ្ធិរបស់ខ្លួនហើយស្ថានភាពនោះបានឆ្ពោះទៅរកការវាយប្រហារគ្នាដោយប្រដាប់អាវុធយ៉ាងហិង្សាក្នុងសង្គ្រាមព្រំដែនកម្ពុជាថៃ5ថ្ងៃកងទ័ពអាកាសថៃបានប្រើយន្តហោះចម្បាំង F-16ដើម្បីវាយប្រហារទៅលើទីតាំងយោធាកម្ពុជាបណ្ដាលឲ្យគ្រាប់បែកធ្លាក់លើខ្នងភ្នំតំបន់ប្រាសាទព្រះវិហារដែលត្រូវបានបញ្ចូលជាសម្បត្តិបេតិកភណ្ឌអន្តរជាតិ UNESCO បេតិកភណ្ឌពិភពលោក UNESCO អំឡុងពេលប៉ះទង្គិចបាននាំឲ្យមានជនស៊ីវិលរួមទាំងទាហាននៃប្រទេសទាំងពីរស្លាប់រាប់សិបនាក់ភូមិមួយចំនួននៅតាមព្រំដែនត្រូវបានបោះបង់ចោលដោយសារតែពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរជាច្រើនរត់ភៀសខ្លួនបណ្ដាលឲ្យមានជនភៀសខ្លួនកើនឡើងរាប់ពាន់នាក់ត្រូវបានបញ្ជូនទៅរស់នៅក្នុងជំរំបណ្ដោះអាសន្នទន្ទឹមទៅនឹងការភ័យខ្លាចនៃសង្គ្រាមទ្រង់ទ្រាយធំចេះតែមានរៀងរាល់ថ្ងៃព្រោះតែថៃនៅតែមានសភាពបំពេញព្រំដែនកម្ពុជាមិនបង្កការផ្ទុះអាវុធនោះទេប្រធានាធិបតីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកលោក Donald Trump បានចូលមកអន្តរាគមន៍ដោយផ្ទាល់ដោយមានកិច្ចគាំទ្រពីក្រសួងការបរទេសអាមេរិកលោកបានទូរស័ព្ទទៅកាន់នាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតនិងនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីថៃដោយលើកទឹកចិត្តឲ្យភាគីទាំងពីរមានការអត់ធ្មត់បន្ទាប់មកលោក Trump បានរៀបចំវេទិកាបន្ទាន់ដែលនាំឲ្យមេដឹកនាំកម្ពុជាថៃយល់ព្រមលើកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងឈប់បាញ់ដោយមានអ្នកសង្កេតការណ៍មកពីសមាគមប្រជាជាតិអាស៊ានត្រួតពិនិត្យបទឈប់បាញ់ត្រូវបានអនុវត្តដោយកម្លាំងទ័ពនៃភាគីទាំងពីរត្រូវបញ្ឈប់សកម្មភាពនិងត្រូវបន្ថយភាពតានតឹងលោក Trump បានប្រកាសថានេះជាជំហានដ៏សំខាន់សម្រាប់សន្តិភាពគណៈដែលប្រព័ន្ធផ្សព្វផ្សាយប្រទេសកម្ពុជាបានពោលពាក្យសរសើរលោកថាជាបរិះដែលបានជួយទប់ស្កាត់តំបន់មិនឲ្យធ្លាក់ចូលទៅក្នុងចំនួនកាន់តែធំនិងធ្ងន់ធ្ងរជាងនេះសម្រាប់រដ្ឋាភិបាលដែលដឹកនាំដោយនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតការអំពាវនាវឲ្យកម្ពុជាងាកទៅរកសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកបានកើតឡើងស្របពេលដែលពលរដ្ឋកម្ពុជាយល់ឃើញអំពីការអន្តរាគមន៍របស់លោក Trump ទាន់ពេលវេលានៃការពន្លត់ភ្លើងសង្គ្រាមប្រសិនបើកម្ពុជាអនុម័តផ្លូវជាតិលេខ4ពីភ្នំពេញទៅកាន់ខេត្តព្រះសីហនុមែនវានឹងក្លាយទៅជាផ្លូវអន្តរជាតិដ៏ល្បីឈ្មោះដែលមានឈ្មោះថា Trump Highway ហើយវានឹងคล้ายទៅជានិមិត្តសញ្ញាដ៏ច្បាស់លាស់បង្ហាញពីការតបស្នងសងគុណដែលប្រទេសតូចមួយនៅអាស៊ីអាគ្នេយ៍ឲ្យតម្លៃខ្លាំងចំពោះបទអន្តរាគមន៍របស់ប្រធានាធិបតីអាមេរិកទី47ដោយចាត់ទុកជាអ្នកបង្កើតសន្តិភាពនិងជាអ្នកការពារអាយុជីវិតមនុស្សរាប់ពាន់នាក់ដែលរួចផុតពីសង្គ្រាមព្រំដែនកាលពីថ្ងៃទី20ខែសីហាឆ្នាំ2025លោក Donald Trump ប្រធានាធិបតីអាមេរិកបានផ្ញើសារលិខិតថ្លែងអំណរគុណជូនចំពោះលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាដែលជាការឆ្លើយតបចំពោះលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតដែលបានស្នើតែងតាំងរូបលោកជាបេក្ខជនសម្រាប់ពានរង្វាន់ Nobel សន្តិភាពលិខិតរបស់លោក Trump មានខ្លឹមសារដូចនេះថាខ្ញុំមានកិត្តិយសក្រៃលែងដែលបានសន្ទនាជាមួយឯកឧត្តមដើម្បីរួមចំណែកបញ្ចប់ចំនួនប្រដាប់អាវុធជាមួយប្រទេសថៃប្រទេសកម្ពុជាមានប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រនិងវប្បធម៌ដ៏យូរអង្វែងនិងសម្បូរបែបខ្ញុំជឿជាក់ថាឯកឧត្តមជាថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំដ៏ឆ្នើមមួយរូបដែលផ្ដល់តម្លៃលើជីវិតមនុស្សនិងស្រឡាញ់សន្តិភាពខ្ញុំពិតជាមានមោទនភាពដែលបានចូលរួមជាផ្នែកមួយនៃកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងបទឈប់បាញ់ដែលបានបញ្ចប់នៅសោកនាដកម្មនៃចំនួនប្រដាប់អាវុធនិងបានសង្គ្រោះជីវិតមនុស្សរាប់ពាន់នាក់ចាប់ពីពេលនេះតទៅយើងអាចផ្ដោតការយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ជាមួយគ្នាលើការកសាងវិបុលភាពសម្រាប់ប្រជាជាតិដ៏អស្ចារ្យរបស់យើងទាំងពីរកាលពីថ្ងៃទី7ខែសីហាឆ្នាំ2025លោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតក្នុងនាមជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីកម្ពុជាបានផ្ញើលិខិតផ្លូវការទៅកាន់គណៈកម្មាធិការ Nobel នៃប្រទេសណ័រវេសដើម្បីគាំទ្រនិងតែងតាំងប្រធានាធិបតីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកលោក Donald Trump សម្រាប់ពានរង្វាន់ Nobel សន្តិភាពលោកហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតយល់ឃើញថាលោក Trump បានរួមចំណែកយ៉ាងសំខាន់ជាប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រក្នុងកិច្ចខិតខំប្រឹងប្រែងសម្របសម្រួលឲ្យមានបទឈប់បាញ់រវាងកម្ពុជាថៃពិសេសការស្វែងរកសន្តិភាពតាមព្រំដែននៃប្រទេសទាំងពីរដែលនាំឲ្យមានសង្គ្រាមព្រំដែនកម្ពុជាថៃ5ថ្ងៃត្រូវបានពន្លត់